Here today, it's House Resolution 389, maybe a little bit different than most of the resolutions we've done, but I'm going to ask Representative Watson to come forward and to speak to the bill, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of this committee. Bring before you today H.R. 389. This is a resolution to create the Rural Development Council. And let me just first say, when I was elected to the State House 5 years ago, when I was kicking off my campaign, one of the things I told my constituents and my supporters was that I just wanted to be a voice for rural Georgia. I didn't have a big plan in my back pocket to change government, but I just wanted to be a voice for rural Georgia and do what's right for my district and the state of Georgia. And this legislation does that. It is something small that will create a ripple effect across the state of Georgia. The Speaker has honored me by allowing me to carry this legislation on his behalf. Turn it over to the Speaker.
Thank you. We're going to hold off all questions until after the Speaker addresses the resolution, and we'll just kind of go from there. Mr. Speaker, the podium is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you today about House Resolution 389, which creates the House Rural Development Council. In September of last year, Georgia State University's Center for State and Local Finance released a report on job growth in the last decade. It found that as our economy has recovered and jobs have returned, our urban areas have seen the most benefit, while our rural communities have seen much less impact. With the committee's permission, I will enter that report in its entirety into the record with my remarks today. We must take advantage of this time of opportunity to bolster our rural communities in Georgia. That is why I am so pleased and honored to join with Rural Caucus Chair Representative Sam Watson, as well as with Chairman Terry England and Chairman Jay Powell, to ask this House to create a Rural Development Council. I want to be very clear, this is not a study committee. This is going to be an ongoing project over the next 2 years at least, and it's going to take a lot of work. As provided in this resolution, this council will travel into rural communities, hear testimony, meet with Georgians, and attempt to understand the unique challenges facing rural Georgia, whether in the areas of education, health care, infrastructure, or tax policy. I want this council to look at the big picture and recommend legislative actions that can empower our rural areas. I want them to seek out creative solutions. Let me be clear on another point. This council is not intended to be a public works program. I am not interested in government creating jobs. Rather, I want to create an environment in which private enterprise can create jobs in rural Georgia. I expect and encourage the council to call on and collaborate with existing efforts and form strategic partnerships to address this issue as we move forward. Your support and favorable consideration of House Resolution 389 will help us keep all of Georgia, urban, suburban, and rural, a great place to live, to work, and to raise a family. I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be happy to yield for questions.
Does anyone have any questions for the Speaker? I don't see any. I would like to say that as a rural Georgian, how much I appreciate yours and Representative Watson's and the other members or the other that sponsored this bill. We see it every day in rural Georgia, and I think this is a great first step, and I want to commend y'all and thank y'all for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, I'm going to call on Chairman Stevens for a motion.
As Chairman of the Economic Development Committee, I'm honored to make the motion to do pass.
We have a motion to do pass. We have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank y'all very much.